Welcome to The Art of Selling. I'm Chloe, and this show exists for one reason: to change the way that we as women sell. So if you're a woman who's ready to get dangerously good at sales without losing yourself in the process, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we are going to be talking about why selling feels gross. And more importantly, how to completely rewire it so it doesn't feel like that anymore. Let me ask you something, and I'm just gonna put this out here. Have you ever, got on a sales call with a prospect and everything's going really lovely, you're getting on with them, and then they hit you with a little objection, something like, oh, I think I just need to have a little think about it, or I need to just have some time, and you completely freeze. And instead of actually handling it, instead of asking them another question or kind of delving deeper into what they need to think about, you just go, oh yeah, no problem, that's fine. That's no worries at all. Take your time. And you basically usher them off the call as fast as humanly possible. And you just can't get off that Zoom quick enough. You can't get off that call quick enough. Honestly, me too. I've been there. We've all been there. I've done it more times than I'd ever admit. And I think it's completely normal. And here's another example actually as well. Like, you sat there, maybe you're messaging someone in your DMs, and they're interested in working with you, or they've seen what you do and they've inquired with you, and you've looked at what you're saying, you're replying back to them, and you keep deleting the messages and you keep typing it out again, and then you delete it, and in the end you end up leaving them on red, you become completely overwhelmed, you end up ghosting them, and then it gets to 8 days' time and you feel awful. You don't even want to follow up with them because you just know that you've been really rude. And you ignore the whole conversation and you just have no idea what to say next. So if this even remotely sounds familiar, oh, this episode is for you. Because that feeling is not a sign that you're bad at sales. It's a sign that you've got some real stuff to unlearn, and we are going to start doing that today. So this is the first thing that nobody really admits out loud. It's the reason most of us avoid sales conversations like the plague, and the reason why we drop our prices the second someone so much as pauses or just needs time to reflect and have a real good think about it. And the reason we over-explain and we over-justify and we add loads of caveats to just one simple offer. And selling feels gross for so many of us. It just does. And there is nothing wrong with you. It's not because you're not cut out for business. And it's definitely not because you need some better, slicker script. It feels gross because you've inherited something and you've been carrying it around for years, probably without even realizing it was there. And this is something that I really had to unlearn over the last, decade, over a decade of me working in sales and marketing. So today we're going to be doing 3 things. First and foremost, we're going to figure out where this feeling actually comes from, like really properly dive into it. Like, where is this feeling coming from, and getting to the root of it. And then we're going to break it down and work out why it's actually got almost nothing to do with the sale itself. And then the good bit is I'm going to give you actual things that you can do this week to rewire everything that you've ever thought. Real actual tangible stuff that you can start today, right now, once you finish this podcast. And by the end of this, I genuinely think you'll have a completely different relationship with the word sales. Completely different relationship. So yeah, buckle in, get ready, because it's going to be awesome. So let's start here. So this feeling didn't just appear out of thin air. Nobody is born thinking selling is dirty. Nobody is born thinking that selling is icky and it's not a natural thing. When you think about when you think about a toddler, a 2-year-old at a dinner table who wants more food, or they want another biscuit, say they want another snack, they don't you don't see them sitting there agonizing over it. They don't go, oh God, is it rude to ask? Will the other kids judge me? What will my mum think? Will she think I'm just being greedy? They just put their hand out and just go, biscuit. And nine times out of 10, they end up getting the biscuit. They're not ashamed of themselves. They just get it. Because sometimes the mum, maybe like you've had too many, but that's not the point. Ultimately, they're not scared to ask for more. So somewhere between being that toddler and being the woman who can't say a price without sweating, something happened. So we're going to walk through that and really dive into where that's come from. So there's going to be a few different sources that we go through. So number one is, first and foremost, is the way that we're raised. So if you grew up being told to be polite, to not ask for too much, to share everything that you have, to not be too greedy, to wait your turn, to make sure everybody else was sorted before you even thought about your own slice of cake or your own share of whatever it may be, to be the good girl. I think that's quite a popular one. I was told to just be the good girl, the easy one, the helpful one, the one who never kicks up a fuss. I'm sure we can relate to some of these. And then actually, when you really dive into it, you are actually being trained really, really subconsciously, but gently, and also lovingly even, to actually just mistrust your own wants, to put yourself last, to believe that wanting more than you strictly need is kind of a bit selfish. So now you go on to sell something as a service provider or as a coach or an agency owner, whatever it is, and your nervous system reads that situation as, I'm being greedy, I'm being too much, and I'm taking from someone. And when you break this down, that's actually not a sales problem. That's actually years of old habits showing up uninvited on some random Tuesday afternoon Zoom call that you're taking. And that's okay. It's normal to feel like that. It's going to be there. That's just what was programmed into our subconscious from, years and years and years ago. So that's sort of source one. Then we have step two, which, or another step, is number two is the whole culture around women and money. Because the fact is that this genuinely stops me when I think about this. And actually, I spoke to my granny about this when we were away. We went away on holiday, and I was speaking to her about this as well. But women in the UK weren't actually even allowed to open a bank account in their own name without a man's signature until the 1970s. The 1970s. That's not ancient history. That might be your mum or your nan. The idea of women being trusted with their own money is younger than flared jeans. So if it feels weird in your body to talk about money, of course it does. It's practically brand new for us. It's in our bones. It's been programmed into us as females. And then on top of that, think about every word we've got for a woman who likes money. I'm going to list a few actually. There's gold digger, there's materialistic, there's greedy, there's high maintenance, there's money grabbing. The list is literally endless. And now think of the equivalent word for a man who wants to be paid really, really well. Think about it. There actually isn't one, because we would just call him ambitious, successful, driven. So when you put a price on what you do, there's this little part of you that way down deep in your subconscious is saying, am I about to become one of those words? When you actually think of it like that, it's crazy. It's actually crazy, and it's no wonder we feel like this. And then source three, the sort of third example is the bro sales internet. You probably know exactly who I'm talking about, but the men shouting into a microphone in front of a rented Lamborghini. they'd say things like, close them, get them on the phone, handle the objection, never take no for an answer, or like always be closing, ABC. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that in sales terms, but it's really popular. And I literally heard this so much when I used to work in door-to-door sales when I was 18 years old. The guys who used to run the floor at the door-to-door sales company that I worked for, they used to be like, ABC, ABC, and we'd have to ring the bell. And if you've ever worked in door-to-door sales, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, lucky you, because it's quite intense. But you, in those situations, you just think like, oh no, that's not me. Like I would literally rather eat my own arm than do that. I'm not saying something, you know, and then somewhere along the way, you've quietly decided that sales is, you don't want anything to do with it. You've decided that this isn't for you. But I promise you, that is not sales. That is just, it's just manipulation wearing a really nice watch. And that's not what this is about. You've looked at the worst possible version of something and assumed it was the whole thing. It's like going on a terrible first date and deciding that all men are pigs. When in fact, just that person was a pig. You know, it doesn't mean the next person may not be the right one. I use this analogy a lot actually, and I always say, you know, most of the time you don't date the first person that you go on a date with. You don't get married to the first person you go on a date with. Some people do, but most of the time you date a few people. You know, you date a load of people. The first person isn't going to be perfect. You have to test what you like. Kiss a few or kiss a lot of frogs to find your perfect man. And it's the exact same when someone is looking at investing in you, or you're looking at investing in something else. You can't judge anything from the previous experience. You have to go into everything with a fresh approach. An example 4 is every bad sales experience you've ever had. So think of like that. I don't know if you've ever gone to like go and buy a car at a car dealership and they wouldn't let you leave, or there's been this happened to me not that long ago actually, but there was a girl maybe there's been a girl that you went to school with and they've slid into your DMs after 11 years and you've not spoken to them, and they want to tell you about this amazing new opportunity that they've got. Or you've gone to a clinic or a med spa and they've tried to sell you these 3 serums and you've literally still got cream all over your face, or you've still got a wax on your upper lip or whatever, and you can't move and you just feel like forced to buy these serums because it's awkward, you can't leave unless you buy it. And another really good example is like there's like for instance like a personal trainer who made you feel like an absolute failure for not signing up to the 12-week transformation program when you really only just wanted 4 weeks of custom support. And every single one of these seeped into your subconscious. And this is what's made you feel that selling is like this, and that's the end of it. There's no alternative. So when it's your turn to build your own business and, you know, sell your offer, you're terrified of being that person. So you overcorrect, you undersell, you apologize, you stack up all these get out clauses, things like no pressure, don't worry, you know, only if you can afford it. Honestly, it's completely fine if it's a no, we can regroup. And we tell ourselves we're just being respectful and lovely and considerate, but really you're allowing all the subconscious beliefs to the surface and not allowing people to truly know how valuable you are and how you could actually help them with your offer or your service or your business. So, you know, picture this, like you're sat down, you sit down and you write out a piece of content, or you're getting ready to hop on a call with someone who's been in your world for a while. Maybe they've been following you, they really love what you do, or you're about to say the price out loud to someone on a call for the very first time, and you think it's just you in that moment doing one simple little thing. But it's not just you, because you've got all this baggage. you've got this massive, massive rucksack of decades of being told not to want too much. You've got a whole culture that side-eyes women who ask for more. You've got thousands and thousands and thousands of bad examples of what selling looks like, and you've got these cringe sales interactions that you've sat through as a buyer, and you're carrying all of that just to talk about what you do and what it costs you. So no wonder it feels heavy. You're not just selling, you're basically wading through about 100 years of history every single time. So here's the bit that I really want to get to, and I really want you to understand, is that this like gross feeling, it's almost got nothing to do with sales or selling, and it's got everything to do with what you've decided sales means. There's this Maya Angelou quote, and I come back to this all the time, and she said, do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, you do better. And up until now, you've been doing the best you could with the information that you had, and you thought selling was pushy, so you avoided it. And you thought wanting more money made you a greedy person, so you undercharged, and you thought that asking for a sale meant you were needy, and you just didn't ask. You just didn't do what you actually were destined to do. And then you took this rubbish result as proof that you weren't that you were right about this all along. But today you get to know better. So let me hand you, please let me hand you a brand new definition, and I want you to actually try it on like a new coat and see how it fits and see how it sits with you. Because I hand on heart, and I've got, if you're listening to this on audio, I've literally got my hand on my heart right now. Selling is just a transfer of belief. It's you believing in what you do so completely that the other person catches it. Like when someone yawns and you mirror someone's yawn, like an energy in the room, like a vibe that you catch. If you believe in it, then someone else will feel that belief and truly believe in what you believe in. And you're not convincing anyone. You're not twisting someone's arm to force them into investing in you. You're not doing anything to anybody. You're just showing up so sure of what you offer that the person across from you can feel it, and then they get to decide it for themselves. They get to decide, are you the right person for them, and are they the right person for you? And honestly, if you don't believe in your offer, no clever script on earth is going to save you. The sale naturally comes when you believe what you sell. You know deep down in your heart that you can truly help someone. And if you do believe in it, you really don't need a script at all. You really don't. Obviously, there's been, every client that I've ever worked with, we help them build out scripts and help them build out the framework that we teach in order to be able to sort of like perform better and actually have, the right questions to ask and things like that. But if you know in your heart how you deliver it, that script, you should be able to read that a couple of times and it should just roll off your tongue, because you know exactly what to do next. So think about it like recommending your favorite restaurant. When you love a restaurant, they do the most amazing food. I actually did this a couple of weeks ago. I went to the most amazing restaurant with my fiance Stevie, and we had the most incredible steak dinner. Like, it was unbelievable. And I couldn't wait to tell my friend. I was like, this is the best restaurant. Like, please go there. You will absolutely love it. And lo and behold, they went there the next week and they were like, what the hell? This was incredible. And when you're doing that, you don't get weird or sweaty or like apologetic when you're telling your friends or family that they have to try this amazing restaurant. You're not like, oh, honestly, it's fine if you don't go. You don't have to go. You want them to go because you love this restaurant so much. It's the best place you've ever been. So you're so excited to tell them. You're excited for them to go and for them to give you feedback. that is selling. You know, you're so convinced it's good that it spills out of you. So many of you right now have done that. You're probably sat there being like, oh my God, I've done that so many times. How many restaurants have you been to and you've spoken to your friends and you're like, you have to go to this restaurant. This was the most amazing thing ever. And I promise you, every time you don't ask for the sale or present your offer or service with conviction and the same enthusiasm you have when recommending your favorite restaurant, someone who genuinely needed your help just completely walks away. And every time you undercharge, you literally teach yourself that what you do isn't worth very much. And every time you over-explain and pile on the caveats, you know, you're basically broadcasting that you don't fully trust your own value yet. And people feel it. They really, really do. We're so tuned in that we're actually so tuned in that we don't give ourselves enough credit for it. You can feel when someone doesn't believe in what they're selling. You can actually feel it in your like body. It feels really awkward. I've literally reviewed like hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of sales calls at this point. And the amount of times I've watched a sales call and the first thing I see is nervousness, and immediately I know it won't close. Because one thing is for sure, when you are certain on what you are selling, people will buy it because they resonate with your enthusiasm. People aren't buying your offer. They're buying how certain you are about your offer and how much you believe in it. So when you feel gross about selling, what's really going on underneath is that you've been taught that asking someone for money means that you're taking something away from them. You know, you're taking money out of that, away from that person. But actually it's the complete opposite. You know, if what you do genuinely helps people, then hiding it is I'm gonna be honest here, like hiding it is actually the most selfish thing. The most selfish thing to do. Not asking is really selfish. On them, on you, on their potential, on your potential. Like selling is a service. The price is just the admin. The price is the hours. You don't go into I'm going to say like an Apple store, say. You don't go into an Apple store and see this newest iPhone that you've been thinking about for ages and think, oh, is it worth it? Is it worth it? You know it's worth it. You know that iPhone is worth it. It's got the newest camera. I mean, I love Apple, so I always get the newest iPhone, and because I understand the value, they don't need to convince me. I know obviously it's different because they have the most like incredible brand now, but it's the same thing. Like the price is just the admin. The price is just the cost of what it takes for them to build it, for them to manufacture it. And it's the exact same with you. The price is something that, you know, I'm a big believer in, like, if you get something for free, it doesn't mean anything to you. It's worthless actually, because when you invest in something, you actually do the work. I don't know if you've ever invested in a coaching program or like a mentorship, and when you've invested, there's something on the line. You're like, oh my God, this needs to work because I put money into it and I'm going to make this work. I need to make sure I get my return on investment, and I need to make sure that I put the work in. I follow the strategy. I show up to the calls. I am active. I'm there. Because if you're not, then what a waste of money. What a waste of money. And then if you've ever been given a coaching program for free, or you've bought like a really low ticket, it kind of, you buy it and then you never really think about it. And it's the exact same. And I really want you to sit with this one, because it is the single reframe that changed my entire business. Your discomfort with selling is actually costing other people the help that they actually need. And you can say that back to yourself a few times. Stick it in your bathroom mirror if you want, because the second you realize that your fear of being too much is leaving other women in the exact same problem that you could solve, everything flips. Suddenly it's not about you and your nerves anymore. It's about them. And it always was about them. And that gross feeling starts to actually just like melt away, because it was actually never really about being polite. was it? It was never really about being polite. It was just about being scared. And now you've got a reason that's so much bigger than your fear. So we know where it comes from. We know it's not actually about sales. So let's get into the good stuff. How do you actually rewire this thing? You're probably thinking, right, okay, Chloe, I know that there's so many different things that this has come from. It sounds like, oh my God, if any of this has resonated with you, and you're probably sat there thinking, well, I resonate with 3 of these things or all of them, then I'm going to show you exactly how we rewire this, because awareness on its own does nothing. We could know exactly why we do something and still do it every single day. We all know we shouldn't text an ex or, do something that isn't going to help us, but knowing isn't the fix. You need an actual practice, not just a one-off, a fix me forever moment, like an actual practice that you can do every day. Similar to going to the gym. You don't go to the gym once and walk out with the most unbelievable body. You have to be there consistently and go up and show up and, actually be proactive. So here, I'm going to give you 6 things that you can start doing this week. And some of them may sound really small, or, they may not feel like a big thing, but I promise you, they are absolutely necessary in order to rewire the way that you think about this. So, number 1, catch the apology language. So for the next 7 days, I want you to just make a little note in your phone every single time you catch yourself doing it. And I'm telling you now, by about day 3, you are going to be absolutely horrified how often this happens. It's like when someone points out that you say I say like all the time, but when someone says, oh, you say like all the time, suddenly you can't unhear it and you hear everyone else saying it. And that's the point, because you cannot change a habit you can't even see yet. So step 1 is always just switching that light on. Catch yourself when you say, sorry for everything, and, oh, sorry. Start to notice when you do it. And I promise you, once that light is switched, you'll be like, oh my God, I say this all the time. Number 2, change the way you talk about money. A big, big, big one here, because I really want you to stop saying things like, that's really expensive, and start saying, that's an investment. I'm spending this to invest in my future. Now, when we're talking about a really expensive handbag, different, unless that's part of your look or whatever it is. I'm not a big fan of big expensive handbags, but it's saying stuff like that's really expensive, I can't do that. And flipping the narrative to saying like, actually, that's an investment. And stop saying things like, I'm rubbish with money, and flip it and say something like, I'm learning to be really good with money. Another good example as well is saying something like, I could never charge that. I could never do that. That's way too expensive. No one would be able to afford that. And flipping that and start saying something like, I'm actually really excited to charge my worth. I'm so excited for people to actually invest in this and me to be able to give 100%. So because your words aren't like, they're not like a decoration. They're the operating system running in the background of your day-to-day life. Every single thing you say about money, about investing, about cash, like everything that you talk about in money is actually an instruction to your brain about who you are and what you're allowed and what you attract into your life. And there's this Jim Rohn line I love that he actually said once, and it's like, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I'd actually add one more to that as well. I'd say you are the average of the way you talk to yourself all day long. So have a tidy up, like sort out the language that you say to yourself, because I promise you, once you sort that out, you'll notice a massive, massive, massive difference in your ability to show up in front of your clients and in front of your prospects. Number 3 is sell it to yourself first. It's going to sound really weird, but I promise you, before you sell anything to anyone, you have to be completely sold yourself. Like absolutely no doubt about it sold. So the homework here is get a notebook and write out in proper detail what your offer is or your service and what it actually does for someone. Not like features and benefits, because that's really basic. We want to actually look at the outcome, the actual transformation that someone will get working with you. What do they get to feel? What do they get to stop feeling? And who do they become once they start working with you? You think of like who your ideal client is. That ideal client that's sat there that doesn't know you exist, but they're perfect fit for what you do. And write down, what do they get from working with you? Because I promise you, once you started to be really, really clear on that, naturally the sale will come. And then you can read it back to yourself out loud and try and do this every day for 7 days. I know it sounds completely unhinged, but just do it. I promise you, I do this. I did this when I first launched my own business, and it really, really, really helped, because most women have genuinely never sat down and let themselves feel the full weight of what their work actually does. We're too busy being humble and lovely and not big-headed enough. And I'll be honest with you, humble is actually quietly killing your growth in becoming dangerously good at selling. You cannot transfer a belief that you haven't got yet. You just can't. And then number 4 is reframe the no. So much of this like gross feeling is actually about how we hear the word no. You hear this no and you get this like instant nervous system panic attack. I'm bad, I did something wrong, they don't like me, I'm embarrassing, I can't do this. And the actual rewiring to this is a no is actually just it's just information. That is all it is. And it just means not this person. And I actually had a coaching call with one of my clients today, and she told me that she actually got a no. And I was like, that's amazing, congratulations. And I know that sounds really weird, but I was like, that's amazing. You've got leads in the pipeline. So I'm a big believer in like, just because you get a no, what that means is you're actually one step closer to a yes. And every no is a redirection to someone who is actually waiting to give you an actual yes. It's like being knocked back by someone in a bar. Say, for instance, you go out to a bar and you go out, and in that moment it really hurts. Someone's not interested in you. Sure, it hurts, but it doesn't actually mean you're unlovable. It just means that he's not the right person, and he's not the right one for you. So next time you get a no, instead of spiraling into this like 3-day pain and like worry that it's not going to work out for you, just ask yourself one question: what can I learn from that? And then move on with your life. What can I learn from that no? What did I maybe do wrong, and what did I maybe do right? And this is what we go through with our clients, like what was good about that call and what could be different, and how can we reframe that, and then move on and go about your life. Because that is just one no in a sea of hundreds and thousands of potential yeses. And no is actually just data. It's data that we can actually track. We can look at, okay, why didn't that work? Why was that particular client not right for us? Or why did that particular call not work out the way we wanted it to be? In fact, maybe it did work out the way we wanted it to be because they weren't the right client for us. And then number 5 is build a proper daily mindset practice. This is the one I get asked about more than anything else. So I'll tell you exactly what I do, and you can take whatever bits work for you, to be honest. But in the morning, before I even touch my phone, before anyone in the world, before I look at anything that's going on, I either listen to a manifestation, like a 10-minute manifestation, or like an activation where I repeat the words back, or I read a few pages of a book. maybe about 5 to 10 pages of a book. Right now I'm actually reading, and if you're on video you can see this, but right now I'm actually reading this book, and it's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, which is, to be honest, which is why I'm actually doing this podcast, because at first I was honestly so scared to do this, and then I thought, screw it, I'm reading this book for a reason. I feel the fear and I'm going to do it anyway. And honestly, I think people need this podcast. And I truly believe this is going to be so valuable to the women wanting to learn this skill. I believe it in my heart. And I had to tell myself that it would be a complete disjustice if I didn't do this. And that for me reframed the whole outlook I had on doing this podcast. And it's the exact same with you in selling your offer. You know, actually looking at, it's a complete disservice not being able to actually present your offer well. So another mindset practice I do is like actually moving my body. You know, like walking, going to the gym, stretching, like all of those different things, because honestly, like your mindset lives in your body. You're not going to think your way into being a brand new woman while you're slumped on the sofa doom scrolling. You know, it doesn't work like that. The whole thing takes me about 30 minutes. Some days I may go for a walk, some days I may go to the gym. The magic isn't in like the lengths of time that you do it. It's just in the routine. It's in the daily practice. It's like knowing that, okay, I get up at this time and I do this, and I prove to myself that I can be consistent. And then number 6, audit what you are consuming. I know you've probably heard this so many times, but it is so valuable. This is so gold. And I really want you to have a proper look at what you're letting into your head all day. You know, like, what kind of podcasts are you listening to? What kind of accounts do you follow? You know, what kind of voice notes do you voice note your friend? What kind of shows do you watch? What kind of group chats are you in? Because every single one of those is a vote, and every input is quietly teaching your brain what's normal, what's possible, and actually what's allowed. So if you're following 47 women who are constantly undercharging and moaning about their nightmare clients, or they don't stop moaning about situations in their life. Now, I know everyone goes through things in their life, but there's always a positive spin on things as well. You know, or people that are scared of spending money. They treat money like it's really scary, and they don't live in abundance. Then you're going to keep finding it really, really hard. You are literally a product of the room that you're in. So be ruthless. You know, like, mute people, unfollow people, swap them out of your circles. Go and find the women who are out there talking about how they are magnets for money, or that they are magnets for abundance and success. You know, listen to people who are already where you want to be, and get yourself into rooms online or in real life where charging properly isn't a dream. Like, people are actually they're not just dreamers, they're actually implementing what they do. A really good example is like networking groups in your local areas with other female entrepreneurs. Such an amazing way to network, and also build up that vibe. Like, they're in the same situation as you, they're building businesses. So get in those rooms. You know, you are not, a big thing I would say is like, you are not stronger than your environment. None of us are. So go and build a better one. Go and build other things out there. There's so many opportunities, and there's so much out there for you guys to do and for you to see, and amazing things that you can do. So here's what I really want you to take away from today. That gross feeling is not a sign that you're not built for this. You know, it's actually the opposite. It's a sign that you care, and it's a sign that you don't want to be one of those slimy people. It's a sign that you've got integrity, and integrity is honestly the most underrated superpower in all of sales. The pushy bros in the rented Lamborghinis, they haven't got it. The ick you feel is literally proof that you do. That you have that inner knowing, that like power, that superpower to sell integrity. But this is the big but, you know, like, integrity on its own isn't enough. You know, you could be the most ethical, most thoughtful, most lovely, 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 lovely woman in the entire world. And if you never actually ask for the sale, then nobody ever gets to experience what you do. It just stays locked in this little box that you can't get inside, and it's hard to open. And I'll be honest with you, your discomfort isn't noble. Like it's just untrained. And the brilliant thing is that untrained things can be trained. Dogs need training. People need training. The mindset needs training. Like, you don't just get a new puppy and expect them to be well behaved and sit and lie down and do all the amazing tricks. You train them, and you train them over time. So go train, like, catch the apology language, sort out your money words, sell it to yourself first, reframe the nodes, like, build the practice, audit your inputs, and do that for 7 days, and then come back to me and tell you your relationship with sales hasn't shifted, because I promise you it will. I've watched it happen to me. I've watched it happen to every single one of the clients that I work with. And that gross feeling is not your personality. It's just a program running in the background. And programs can be rewritten. I promise you they can. So if this resonated with you today, I would love, 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 love for you to share it with any other women out there that you feel that might benefit from this. That's genuinely how this grows, and it's how the whole conversation around women and money and selling starts to actually change, one woman at a time. So please make sure that you're following. So on next week's episode, so that you get a notification for next week's episode. And if you've got 2 minutes, a little review honestly helps me so much reach other people and share this platform. So I will see you next week, and have the most beautiful, beautiful week. Bye.